nice to be here in such distinguished and inspiring company. We're sort of still quite a small studio, our company. We've been here in Kilkenny for 10 years now. I graduated in '99 from Ballyfermot Senior College, and myself and Paul Young started sort of collaborating even while we were in college, and we set up the company while we were in college. And as you said in the introduction, our main aim when we set up the company was to produce our own feature film and our own projects. And we sort of were inspired by the likes of Richard Williams in London, who was able to build his studio based on doing work for other people while trying to develop and create his own projects. And that was sort of the business model I was inspired by as a student in college. So these are the joint head honchos, as we call ourselves. We're the main owners and operators of the business. Paul Young, Ross Murray, who I met at Young Irish Filmmakers here in Kilkenny, and Nora Toomey is the other creative director with me in the company, and we met in Ballyfermot, like myself and Paul. So we started off actually in the Young Irish Filmmakers. I'd been a member of the Young Irish Filmmakers here in Kilkenny when I was a teenager, and I met Ross Murray and Ross Stewart, who was the art director in The Secret of Kells, and some of the other staff like Aidan Hart, who directed Skunk Fu, in Young Irish Filmmakers here in Kilkenny. And Young Irish Filmmakers supported us when we first graduated to move down and have a space in their studio up in the old Joseph's Orphanage, called St. Joseph's Studios. And we were there for quite a number of years, and it was a really nice place to come back to. At the start we were developing The Secret of Kells, but it was originally called Rebel. We had some funding from the Millennium Arts and Culture project to develop that project, and we did a bit of work on it, but then we had to put it on the back burner as we tried to grow and build the business. So yeah, I like to mention Young Irish Filmmakers wherever I go, because it's sort of where our heart is where we came from originally, and a lot of the skills that we use in our day-to-day business came from as kids being sort of empowered by the Young Irish Filmmakers and given not just use of the equipment, but also the sort of sense that we could do stuff ourselves, that we could make our own projects. We didn't have to ask for permission to come up with something or look for a job in a big studio. We could actually do our own thing. So Young Irish Filmmakers, not just for us but for a lot of people that have gone through there, has been a really inspirational sort of boost to any of our careers. Even people who didn't end up in film, I know, still speak very highly of Young Irish Filmmakers in that way. So it's a massive resource that we have here in Kilkenny in the Young Irish Filmmakers, and it's mainly the reason why we came back. So from 1999 to 2000 we were and to 2001, when it all crashed, there was this sort of internet bubble going on, and we were able to make a living, more or less, out of doing e-cards and work for the internet. So we had this Sophia Loren character you see up there, who was kind of an internet spokesperson for Nora Foods, Italian foods that they had at the time. And unfortunately that all crashed down on us in 2001, and we had to sort of scramble and get into other areas to sort of pay the bills while we developed and tried to create our own projects. So the first thing we started to get into was illustration, and that's still a core part of our business. We do all the illustrations for the Irish language school curriculum, and we also do work for like Walker Books in England, and probably this Scream Street series of books has been so popular for them, we're probably going to develop that into a TV series. So strangely, some of the stuff we were doing just to pay the bills has turned into actual long-term intellectual property that we'll probably hope to exploit over the longer term and into other areas. And then I have the Cadbury's commercial, which was massive for us at the time. We do a sort of run of commercials every year, TV commercials, and the Cadbury's commercial was the first one that we landed, and we were all very excited, and I think they still repeated on Christmas Eve, so you might see it. So on the back of this, our own projects, the real heart of the business and why we attracted the group of artists that we brought down to Kilkenny was that we were making our own projects, and short films have always been important to us. They're sort of calling cards, and they're a way for young directors to try out their skills, and we've been really, really lucky in that these are just 3 of our short films. We've made 10 to date, and the short films essentially sort of show our skills to the world and allow us to sort of bring new talent into the World Forum, or as it were. And we won plenty of awards for From Darkness. It was our first little taste of the Oscars. We got shortlisted for the Oscars that year. We didn't get nominated, but we got all giddy when we got the facts, and it kind of encouraged us to go on and make more short films. And the most recent one, Old Fangs, was shown in Sundance this year, and one of the side effects of making a short film like that was it led to a contract from someone that we met in Sundance as well. And Adrien Mergeau is a French artist who came and worked on The Secret of Kells with us in 2005 as an intern, and now he's going to be the art director on my next feature film, and Old Fangs was his chance to make his own film in the studio. So really the heart of our business is to make our own projects, to make our own properties. So just to explain the long form pipeline, to kind of give you an overall idea of our business, this sort of shows the stages that a project will go through in animation. So the start, there's the concepts, then of course there's the story and the script, designs, a storyboard, which is basically a comic book version of the whole film. There's the voice record, there's an animatic, which we make the whole film in black and white first, layout, backgrounds, posing, which is posing the characters in the positions that they have to be in, animation, effects compositing, video, audio and post-production and delivery. Now for our short films we do the whole pipeline in-house, but the core of our business has become the front end, let's say the high end of it. We sort of think of ourselves a bit like Switzerland or something, you know. We kind of focus on the concepts, the story script, designs, the storyboard, and sometimes we do animation. But the other stuff we either co-produce with other countries or we outsource, literally hire service studios to do the other work. So at the moment we focused our service work on long-form service work, because when I showed you the illustrations and the short films and the commercials, those are sort of short projects. They don't hold the team for long enough for us. We prefer to focus on long-form projects where we can kind of provide, because we're in Kilkenny, we like to provide a sort of longer-term contract for people we attract. Like at the moment we have about 41 people in the studio. At our height we had about 75 when we were making Skunk Fu and The Secret of Kells at the same time. So that's really the focus for us as a moment as a business, is to attract this kind of long-form service work that allows us to keep our crew busy between our own projects, so we don't have this kind of lumpy cash flow and kind of boom or bust scenario like a traditional live-action film crew would get together, shoot a film and then disband after like maybe an 8-week shoot. Whereas in animation we've got this ability to take on a project that might take between 2 or 3 years to complete and hold the crew together for that time, and then hopefully move them on to an indigenously created project, our own IP, which at the end of the day is kind of the reason that we're in business, is to create our own projects. And then the other part of our business that we've focused on largely has been international co-productions. Our own projects have, out of necessity, been international co-productions, where we worked with, say, France and Belgium on The Secret of Kells, and Holland and America in Skunk Fu, and Canada in Skunk Fu. So international co-productions work both ways. Until now we've been the main instigators, the main partners, and then we've gone and got co-producers to come in and provide part of the workflow for us. And now what we've gone out with our experience and attracted partners in companies like Gaumont in France to allow us to become part of their work split. The important thing for us with international co-productions is what we can bring to the table, not just as a service studio where you get hired, but what we can bring to the table in terms of finance. And for us what's most important is the Irish Film Board production loans, which we've been happy to say we've been able to pay back every time we've taken them, and they're usually a substantial part of our work split. And the Section 481 tax incentive, which essentially is used by the film business to allow you to raise up to 25% of the Irish spend. And beyond that, the exact accountancy voodoo, I'm not 100% about, but my partners in the business take care of that. And it's where we can attract international projects to give us part of their work split and give us the rights for the Ireland and the UK. So that allows us to be competitive and allows us to work in Kilkenny as much as London or LA or wherever. And then a smaller example of a co-production will be between ourselves and Sunta, where this is a real kind of passion project for us, where we took a number of traditional Irish language songs and animated them for TG Cahir last year, and they were broadcast over Christmas. And we were all very proud, because again, it was like the short films. It was an opportunity for our artists to do their own style and do their own thing, and do something more for the indigenous market, which wouldn't be the main place that we normally make projects for. So just before I move on to The Secret of Kells, which I suppose is the main success we've had in the studio, I would like to talk a little bit about Skunk Fu. It was nominated for a BAFTA as well, and won the IFTA, and it sold to 120 countries worldwide, and you can see here I've listed some of them. So basically 120 countries worldwide, kids are watching a cartoon that was created here in Kilkenny. We ended up making the project between, he's a Kung Fu skunk by the way, He's a skunk who does kung fu. And he was dropped in China by accident. The stork was short-sighted and thought he was a panda. And so anyway, his special power is his stink. The kids love that. So anyway, we brought Skunk Fu out in 2008, and he did really well for us. And there's toys, and it was showed on Cartoon Network in the States. And, you know, it was sort of like a more commercial project, but it was something that we developed ourselves in-house and had ended up being produced between Ireland, Canada, and we did a lot of work in the Philippines as well. And it was made for about €6 million, and we raised that money between here in Ireland. We partnered with Telegale in Galway, who did all the sound. We did all the design and the main animation and boards, and then Cake Distribution. That's a London and Dutch, English and Dutch company. And they're in charge of the worldwide sales, and so that was a big success for us in 2008. So then The Secret of Kells was just sort of the passion project, and the reason I set up the company in the first place. Had a budget of €6.2 million. It was a co-production between Les Amateurs France, Vivifilm Belgium and ourselves. We were the lead studio of a crew of about 200 artists spread over 5 countries, and the funders here in Ireland was the Broadcasting Association of Ireland, Irish Film Board, Section 481, RT, and then Disney Ireland came in for the distribution. So the initial presentation was in 2001, based on a trailer and development work that we'd done in Young Irish Filmmakers. And ironically, it was the French that came on board first for such an Irish project. Canal Plus came on board. And we were nominated for the Oscar there this year. We had 2 IFTAs. The Annie nomination was massive for us, because usually the Annie Awards are mainly for American projects, and they kind of took us to their bosom, and it was a good indication that we'd get somewhere with the Oscars as well. And then we won in Edinburgh, in Annecy, in Seoul, the International Cartoon and Animation Festival in Seoul in Korea, San Francisco Film Festival, and basically we did a great run of festivals last year, and I got to travel all over the world and sort of meet and greet, and it was a great sort of flagship for our studio. We finally felt like we'd sort of arrived, and people were noticing who we are and where we were from, what we were doing. I just wanted to show you some of the artwork. Basically, the thing that's unique about Secret of Kells, and I think the secret of its success, has been that it's an Irish project, and it looks different to anything else out there. We decided that with a €6 million budget, just to put that in context, the other nominees, animated feature, the next sort of lowest budget was 70 million, and the winner was 150 million from Pixar. So we knew there was no point in trying to copy what they were doing, and so we looked at our own artwork in the Book of Kells, in Irish medieval artwork particularly, and we tried to design a project that looked different but that we could create for that kind of a budget. And that's really become our house style. We've become kind of famous for being quite efficient and using old-fashioned 2D animation techniques with modern technology to offer a kind of a level of quality, but still looking like old-fashioned animation that people grew up with, as opposed to CG animation. So that was mainly, I think, the secret of the project's success, that it looked so different and stood out from the crowd and offered a little taste of Irish culture and history to international audiences. It was very telling. It was a lot more successful in the States and Australia and in Asia even. We had a great release in Taiwan and Slovenia, all sorts of places you wouldn't expect. It was more popular than it was in Ireland, and I think that's the usual thing, that Irish people only like something Irish when they're told by foreigners that it's good. And so I think we're going to release in Ireland last next time. But this is just a portion of the crew that worked on it here in Ireland, and they were a very international crew. Even though the majority of us, the main 10 designers and creators were Irish, we attracted talent from all over the world, and we've managed to hold on to a few of them since production wrapped. So this is the Irish premiere with the kids who did the voices, and Mick Lally and Brendan Gleeson, who did the voices of the main characters. And then, yeah, I just threw in a few holiday snaps to show off where we were earlier in the year. That was my biggest kick, getting Cameron Diaz to say my name. So, and I'd even managed Anne Hathaway prior to that, because she called out the nomination, so it was a good old crack. So anyway, we had a good old year. But then, I mean, just to sum up the success, because I have to say it's a qualified success, The Secret of Kells. I mean, for me, it's a success in that I didn't waste my 20s, and I actually managed to get the thing finished that I started in Young Irish Filmmakers. The school screenings have been a huge success, and we managed a massive cult following. Like, we had people camped out outside Comic-Con in New York waiting for us to come in. And here's a girl who sent me a photo that she'd made her own Pangerbond cat shoes in enthusiastic about it, and I've seen people sending me their tattoos of Secret of Kells characters. So the cult following is kind of scary sometimes too, you know. And letters from little kids demanding a sequel and so on. But I think the difficulty for us with our own projects has been that we didn't find an Irish audience, which was quite disappointing for us. We had a slow release worldwide, which meant that we had a very long tail return on investment, let's say. Compared to Skunk Fu, which just sold to 120 countries, Kells has been just creeping out. We just had the UK release. Like our nearest neighbour, we just had it like in November, and Empire gave us 5 stars, probably the first Irish film ever to get 5 stars from Empire magazine, and so on. So the long tail and the slow release worldwide has been the real challenge for our flagship project. But it's all about turning negatives into positives, and there's been a huge amount of positives that have come out of this project too. So my next project is Song of the Sea. And I'm trying to take the lessons of Kells and apply them again. And we've certainly learned a lot of lessons and made a lot of contacts. And we've an awful lot of crew who are eager and chomping at the bit to come back to Kilkenny and work on the next film. And I'm hoping to accommodate them very shortly if we can pull the finance together. We're hoping to start production on that next spring. And it's a similar sort of project to The Secret of Kells. Hopefully we'll have created an audience and an appetite for it in Ireland as well, that people will come out and see it in the cinema here as well as in America. And then a small point, I was just listening to the talk earlier on, was I was in Boston for St. Patrick's Day, and we had sold out screenings all over the Patrick's Day weekend in Boston, and I was kind of heartened by it. And I met an old Irish filmmaker, as I call him, Michael Dreeling, who lives there. He showed up and we were chatting, and we were sort of saying that it was sort of heartening to realise that Ireland doesn't seem to end, you know, in sort of Kerry or Galway. It kind of extends on, and there's so much support and stuff out there. We broke the box office record in New York over St. Patrick's Day as well, in the IFI cinema where it was showing. So there is this massive international support for Ireland, even if Irish people are sort of moaning all the time. People abroad are all enthusiastic about Ireland, and I think that's what we need to tap into. So for us, this is just a quick shoot through some of the future projects we're doing. Nora, who is my co-director on Secret of Kells, is in fact making her first live-action feature film based on the Bluebeard legend, and she's using green screen technology, and it's providing challenges, but again, the foundation of our company has been artistic innovation and ideas, and that's what fuels the business. That's why we're in the business. Otherwise, we could just go and work for Disney directly. So this is the new sort of direction that the company's going in. It's all probably going to have challenges, but hopefully it'll be a success as well. And so Nora's just in the early days of developing that, and she's probably going to shoot it for stereoscopic 3D, which is sort of all the rage at the moment as well. And then we're also trying to expand one of our own projects into preschool, which is a huge market. Everyone's heard of Peppa Pig and Noddy, and Brown Bag in Dublin have been a massively successful company and really leading the way, and they focus primarily on preschool. So even though we're coming late to the party, we think we're going to try and go for the preschool market as well, and that's aimed at a much younger audience than we've aimed at before. So we're developing another show, again based on Irish wildlife and inspired by a holiday I took to Kerry, based on Puffin's Rock down there, and that's a preschool show that we're bringing to market as well this year. And so for us, just to sum up, the future of our business is to build a steady base of long-form service work for international clients, and that we're thankfully have been quite successful in that. We look quite busy for the rest of the year, or into next year as well. We want to build a full-time in-house staff specialised in design, pre-production and line production, which line production basically just means producing the project from beginning to end. We're still co-producing internationally. Our next co-production is a German feature film based on Tommy Ungerer's illustrations. He's actually an illustrator he did the Dr. Zhivago poster and all sorts of famous things in the 60s. But he's semi-retired and living in Cork, and he was very enthusiastic about working with us. So we're co-producing a German film based on one of his children's books. We want to continue to create independent IP, which is intellectual property, and we don't want to just focus on niche projects like we've done so far with The Secret of Kells. We are looking for broad appeal and what they call in LA 4-quadrant, which just means everybody's going to go to see them in the cinema, and it'll be probably based on books. We've been talking to writers like Neil Gaiman and so on to try and find a book that we can adapt to have a broader appeal. And the other main focus is we've been talking to investors, mainly in the US, to kind of create a partnership to allow us to grow the business here in Kilkenny, to become the hub of our business, that we can create and produce the projects here in Kilkenny and then have them internationally distributed. So that's us, that's where we're at. Thanks very much for listening.